or who's not listening or who's listening later to our call. In today's Business Insights, we're talking to Maria Radic. I'm going to say it correctly. And never. Our topic today is very interesting and very controversial, creating healthier, happier lives while achieving your fullest potential. Now, Maria, maybe just give us a bit of a background. So what's led you to become expert in this area?
Well, through most of my life, I was working very hard. I mean, I'm still working hard, but I'm working smarter now. And I kept grinding and grinding and grinding. And just to give you an idea, in my 20s, I already built 3 careers, including as a lawyer, university lecturer, and interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
I was fluent in 5 languages, including Spanish and French. I already held several university degrees. So when I say that I worked hard, you can see that I did work very hard.
Yes.
And I achieved a lot. But now that I'm looking back at it, I realize that it was not a right way to do things.
Right.
And what finally got me into the right place was actually me completely burning out. So by my late 30s, I had a massive burnout where I was just spending time in bed on a daily basis. I was just bedridden because I was in so much pain. My entire body was killing me. All my muscles, all my joints were hurting me. Even like the smallest muscles, the smallest joints. My entire body was on fire, in constant pain. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't move. Of course, I couldn't think. So I had a complete burnout. And as I joke about it, I thought that I didn't just hit the rock bottom. I discovered that the rock bottom had a basement.
Yeah.
So I was in such bad condition.
Yeah.
So, and by then I was already kind of guessing my lifestyle and thinking, look, I'm working so hard. I'm so busy. I sleep 3, maybe 4 hours a night. I achieved so much.
Yeah.
And still, I'm not at that place where I want to be, whether it comes to happiness or wealth or success or so in any area of my life, I wasn't where I thought I would be by that age.
Yeah.
So I was questioning a lot of things. I was questioning how I was doing things in my life. And yeah, that burnout just led me to finally realize that grinding and being busy
Yeah.
is not the answer
No,
at
no. And,
all.
as you talk about that, I think of that movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, with Will Smith. And, I went to see that with my wife, and we came out the other end and said that was the most depressing movie ever. Because all this guy did was chase. His whole life was just chasing, 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 and trying to find this happiness. And it turns out that the pursuit of happiness is not happiness, right? It's actually potentially the opposite. It's unhappiness. And often people get lost in this journey. We work with people helping them grow their business, and sometimes they go, what am I growing my business for? And the short answer is to become fulfilled or to serve a purpose or to be happy or to have money so you don't stress. But we lose the connection between, what the thing is that we're chasing and what the thing is that we're doing. So this whole idea, and I know that we were talking just before the call about so many different opinions around what's important and what is our purpose in life. They're deep questions. Where do people go? How do people start to assess, what is most important to them?
On one hand, of course, it would vary from a person to a person because we are different
Yeah.
genetically, we have different skills, we have different personality traits, we have different communities around us, we have different environments
Yeah.
in the narrow sense of that word and in the wide sense of word. So we all dealt different cards to begin with.
Yes.
And as I said in my second TEDx talk, that how to thrive as a human being in the 2020s has become a very complex puzzle.
Mm.
So there are different bits and pieces that we need to look into. In particular, I had to take care of.
Yeah.
So, for instance, things like breathing, movement, nutrition
Mm.
were very important for me to recover. I had to address them. I had to do a lot of research. I had to find experts. I had to get to do things, because knowing something or wanting something without doing it is not going to lead you anywhere. So
Yeah.
I had to break quite a few habits, in particular giving up coffee. Well, not giving up, but significantly reducing the amount of coffee that I was drinking.
Sure.
And I've done a lot of research. I looked at all possible pieces in the puzzle that are there.
Hmm.
And I believe that the most important pieces are whether you sleep properly. So, this is the best thing that you can do for your health
Yeah.
and for your personal development as well. Because what's interesting and surprising to me, that when personal development experts talk about personal development and what is it the person can do in order to grow, in particular to grow their mindset or to improve their skills, they never mention sleep. But practicing something or doing affirmations or visualizations or improving or practicing a particular skill, it's only half a job. We rewire our brain when we sleep, and we need to get proper sleep in order for that upskilling to happen, for that development to take place.
Yes.
So proper sleep is very, very important to both your physical health and your mental health, and
Mm.
also if you want to grow on a personal and professional level,
Yeah.
which
And I
are
think, like, when
intertwined.
you say this, I think sleep has two sort of important elements to it. The first one is you need it. The second one is the quality of sleep is also a mirror of what's going on in your psychology. And I feel like, everyone's looking for the secret answer to success. What's the magic wand? And we talked about this before. Some people say it's all to do with your mindset. Well, I think any absolute terms like it's all to do with is actually too simplified for what we need to do. Because if we look about it, it's all to do with your happiness in your life or your purpose in your life too. But sleep is a big indicator because we do it every day. It takes up a third of every single day, or it should. And the quality of your sleep is I suppose, a stethoscope to the quality of your being. Yeah. And so if you have disrupted sleep, or if you can't sleep well, or if you can't get up, or whatever the symptoms are, that's usually an indicator of something else that's going on. Yeah. You mentioned a couple of others. So I agree that sleep is one of those things that most people overlook. I think health is a big one as well. But health is broad because we talk about mental health and we talk about physical health and then we talk about nutritional health. There's so many elements to this. What's your view on that part?
Well, first of all, mental health and physical health, they are tightly intertwined.
Yeah.
So I don't understand when people separate the two.
Mm.
They influence each other. It's a two-way street. So both have to be addressed. And I think um, the easiest way to to improve the quality of your life journey is to start taking care of yourself physically, in particular getting proper sleep and having better nutrition that is more suitable to you, and getting enough movement, and also practicing proper breathing, because like we forgot how to breathe, we forgot how to eat properly, we forgot how to sleep properly, we forgot those things. We need to relearn them and to practice them. Also, for example, one of the most important things for me to recover was to do grounding. So just to stand barefoot on earth, so you can stand on grass or sand or just ground itself to get electrons from the earth. And I experienced probably the fastest recovery once I started swimming in the ocean. So when you swim in a body of water, natural body of water, that's the best way to get that earthing, to get that grounding for your health, for your well-being.
Mm.
So there are a lot of different pieces. And I'm really glad that you mentioned about mindset, because mindset, of course, is crucial. You have to work on your mindset.
Mm.
You have to have growth mindset, and you have to keep working on it. It's crucial. But I just can't understand when people throw that phrase around that mindset is everything.
Mm.
And interestingly, when I reach out to them and ask them, have you ever had any health issues in your life? Like you're saying, mindset is everything, but have you ever experienced any illnesses, any disease, like any troubles, any issues with your health? And every one of them says no.
Yeah.
So they say mindset is everything because their health
Yeah.
is in a good condition. They're healthy. They never like they don't experience pain.
Yeah.
They don't get tired as much. So this is why they're saying it. So, but mindset, look, Just to note, I do believe that it's possible for a human being at some point to reach such a high level of consciousness that by a thought alone or by feeling alone, you could actually cure yourself from any disease, even something like cancer, and you cure even another person from it. In fact, there was a very interesting information about a clinic in China. I think it's called non-medical clinic or untraditional clinic or something like that,
Yeah,
where three people chanted around a patient who had cancer, and they actually had camera inside of her, and they showed that while they were chanting around her,
yeah,
so changing her vibration in her body, the energy in her body, the
yeah.
cancer just went away right then and there, just within a couple of
Mm,
minutes. Maybe
mm,
not a couple of minutes, but it was a few minutes. So it is definitely possible to
yeah,
develop your mind to such a level that you could cure yourself from anything, and you could be in complete control of your emotions. And it is possible, but for the majority of us at this point in time, it's not something that is doable. It's something that we should be striving for,
yeah.
but it takes years and years. It takes probably a whole life
So
to get there if you're practicing.
yeah, and what
Um,
I'm hearing is everyone's going to have an opinion on what's most important. And when you say someone says mindset is everything, but they've never been ill, that's
yeah.
their life and that's their view of the world. And if they've never been ill, then illness is not a concern. And so then you've got someone who's been ill and they say health is most important. And they're talking physical health, maybe, and not mental health. And then you've had someone who's had an emotional breakdown and they say mental health. So you're going to end up seeing a lot of people in the world have opinions. And their opinion is based on their experience of the world. And I think what you said there was super interesting. I read a book many years ago called The Holographic Universe. And if you haven't read it, it's a weird book because it talks about all of the um, things that are called supernatural, like this type of healing that you're talking about, levitation, stigmata, and then there's scientific evidence that is used to back how these things actually work. And so it just opens your mind because when we say it's possible or not possible, it's based on our frame of reference. And it's like, when we're young, we can hear more frequencies from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. And as we get older, we lose the top end. And so a sound that's 20 kilohertz can be heard by a child or a dog, but an adult can't hear it. Now, the question is, if I can't hear it, does it not exist? And when you say spiritual healing and when you talk about vibrational healing, and for some people who have never experienced it and never opened themselves up to it, it's probably not real. Okay, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means it's not existent in their world. So when we talk about healthier, happier lives, and you've touched on a few things now, and you said sleep, big
Hmm.
indicator because it's a daily thing, right? I think mindset is in there, but it really depends on the person as to where the priorities lie. Because from your history and what you explained, you were very ill for a period of time in your life, and you suffered from burnout and all sorts of diseases as a result of. So your journey was, how do I get rid of this? And grounding, like you reminded me of grounding, because I know I love going into nature, and I know that I feel better when I do go out and stick my feet in the sand. But I don't do it every single day. Now, should I? Probably. Right? Have I got time to? Maybe. Will I? Probably not. Right? Because in my world, that's not a priority right now. What I'd like to ask you is, every person has their own journey, yeah? And through their journey, they identify what they think they need to do. And the ultimate goal of all of this is to achieve a better quality of life, I believe. Right? Now, I use a very broad term, quality of life, because for some people it's money, for some people it's success, for some people it's helping their family, for some people it's contribution. Everyone has their own model of what quality of life means to them. But I think one thing that's true is that there's a search. And the search is, what is missing from my life that I need? That it's not what people tell me I should do, but it's what I believe is going to move me to this direction. How do you respond, or how do you suggest people take this journey? Like, where do they start? Because you've mentioned sleep, we've talked a bit about health, mental and physical, but each person is different.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, that it is a puzzle, and there are certain
Yeah,
parts, there are certain pieces to
yeah,
that puzzle,
mm-hmm.
and all of them are important to every single person. It's just certain pieces are more important than others,
Yeah,
once again, depending on the person. But
mm,
in my opinion, like three things are most important to everyone in order to function properly in order to be healthy and to be happy. And
Yeah.
I mentioned that the first thing is sleep, getting proper sleep, getting enough sleep and quality sleep.
Yeah.
The second thing is our relationships.
Mm.
And I don't mean the quantity of relationships, but the quality of our connection to other people,
Yes.
the depth of our relationships.
Hmm.
And there's been a lot of research happening around that, showing that, for example, Mark Hyman, he is a famous physician, and he says that, look, I have those patients that are doing everything right. They eat properly, they sleep properly, they exercise, they breathe, this and that, but they're sick. And at the end of the day, I find out that the only thing that's missing in their life is good quality relationships.
Interesting. And I
Um,
think
and
like this past 2 years has demonstrated this as well, hasn't it? With the isolation and the lack of connectivity that people have had. And it's really sort of where people took for granted the fact I go to an office and I talk to people on the way in the coffee shop and then I have banter at the coffee machine. When you take all that away, people start to realize that this is actually a life force that I need, which is connection with other people, relationship, even might be informal. So this connection thing I think is big, and I think the last 2 years has highlighted the importance of it. And so
yeah,
when people start seeking, it's not like you say, it's not number of likes on Facebook or friends, right? It's actually this ability to communicate with another human being at a level
yeah.
that fulfills your requirement to actually have some level of connection. Yeah,
Yeah, so it has to be, you have to feel connected to
yeah,
that other person.
yeah,
Even if it's someone at a register,
mm,
getting your groceries through the register,
yeah,
if there is a connection with that person, it actually stops chronic inflammation. It's that powerful.
mm,
And one more experts highlight, including Simon Sinek, including Gabor Mate, that Maslow's pyramid is incorrect, that actually the most fundamental need of a person is the need to feel that they belong, that they accept it. So that should be on the bottom of the pyramid. That's the most important thing for a person. And
right,
I agree with them. Once again, like I've done so much research on this, and I find more and more information to support that besides sleep, the quality of our relationships is pivotal to us, to our health, to our well-being, also to our professional growth as well, to our success,
yes,
which is another really interesting topic. So sleep, relationships, and the third crucial piece is working on your skill of courage, or
mm,
you can call it self-confidence. It's the same thing, courage, self-confidence.
yes,
And if you courageous, if you improve your level of courage, then you become more resilient, you become more adaptable, and also you can achieve so much more. I look at high flyers, and that's one of those things that really makes them stand out from the crowd and makes them different to the majority of the population,
mm,
that they do have that skill of courage. And it is a skill, it's not a personality trait.
yeah,
It has nothing to do with being introverted or extroverted, for example.
hmm,
If you, once again, if you look at the most high flyers, they are introverts, right?
yeah,
Like rarely you can see actually an extrovert among high flyers. So it has nothing to do with personality traits.
mm,
It is not arrogance at all. It's not comparing yourself to other people.
mm,
It's not feeling motivated. It's being courageous and understanding that if you want to do something, you believe in yourself that you will figure it out, that you will find people who can collaborate with you, that you can upskill yourself and improve skills that are needed to achieve that goal, that you'll find a way, you'll learn how to do things.
yeah,
So courage and self-confidence, they are about believing in yourself.
yeah,
So I
and,
do believe that besides sleep and
mm,
good quality relationships, the third most important thing for every one of us
yes,
is keep working on that skill of courage. And I say keep working because we're all born courageous, maybe at a different level. So we are born with courage,
yes.
but with time, it kind of gets squeezed out of us by the society.
Yeah, it's interesting because you call it courage, and as you're talking, it's sort of resonating at a different level, which is um, confidence, but also with the ability to take chances. You know, because we hear things as people age, and you know, you think about it. When my kids were young, you know, when kids are under 7 years old, we don't discourage them. And my middle son, Aaron, he's had this idea and he said, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be an inventor. I said, oh, yeah, that's fantastic. What sort of inventor? He goes, I want to make a pen. And when you push the button, it turns into a car. And that way you don't have to park. And you look at it and you go, that's a crazy idea, but it's not a bad idea, right? Because
Yeah.
he was trying to solve a problem in his mind and he thought, as an inventor, I can invent stuff. But
Yeah.
the point of this story was I didn't discourage him and go, don't be ridiculous, that's impossible. I said, that's a great idea. Now, as kids get older, we start changing the way we approach them. So if he was 30 years old and he said, Dad, I want to invent a pen that turns into a car, I'd say, well, yeah, I think you might want to rethink. And we bring people down. And what I'm getting at is we hear this terminology, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Don't get your hopes up. And this is societal pressure to normalize our thinking and to take away our creativity. And it's not deliberate, right? It's you should know better. You're older, right? You're experienced, which means you shouldn't make mistakes. But the truth of the matter is we learn most when we're young. And we have most fun when we're young. And you watch young kids play and they're experimental and they're fearless. And so when you talk about courage, it sort of sounds to me like we get indoctrinated into our society and we call it community, and it's just really telling us how we should behave to be accepted. And going back to your hierarchy and saying, well, acceptance is the thing that actually discourages people from taking risks. I don't want to be rejected because I made a stupid mistake. And so now we're battling, right? Because you're saying, well, connection's important, but courage is important, but courage and connection can be conflicting, right?
It depends who you choose, what kind of people you choose to be in your life. So you have to be very certain about it. You have to know your values and priorities,
Yeah.
and you have to do that audit of people around you, and you have to part ways with quite a lot of people. Like there is a really great quote that if you're not losing your friends, you're not growing.
Mm.
And when I heard it the first time, it was such a shocker to me because through most of my life, I thought that no, if you become friends with someone, you've got to be friends with them for the rest of your life. And if you leave them, like if you part ways with them, then it means you're disloyal.
Yeah.
But then I just realized that, some people just don't treat you right, or they constantly bring negativity into your life. So if you do keep them around, then it means you're disloyal to yourself.
I think it's even more than that, though, because I think when you keep people in your life, they might not be deliberately doing anything, but in their mind, they have a picture of who you are. And then when you try to grow beyond it, it creates a level of disconnect. And there's an old story, and I use it a lot, which is how fishermen catch crabs. And they catch all these crabs and they throw them into these big buckets. And they never have to worry about covering the buckets with these live crabs in them because anytime one of those crabs tries to climb out, all the other crabs grab it and drag it back. And I feel sometimes the relationships that people have is like a bucket of crabs. And it's not deliberate. But I used to be a smoker, and I hate to admit it, but when I was younger, I was a smoker, and we used to go out for a cigarette every hour. And if you tried giving up smoking because you knew it was bad for you, it was fine. But then all of a sudden, all the friends you had would start to feel a bit uncomfortable because you weren't coming out every hour. And in their minds, they're going, what's happened to you? How come you don't come and have a smoke with us anymore? And you go, well, I'm giving up. And their response to that was, oh, come on, just have one, oh, you don't really like, and they were sort of offended, not in a deliberate way, but they felt disconnect. It was like you're
Hmm.
breaking away from the pack, and I think the reasoning that I came up with, they were I was invalidating them. So I think when you talk about moving on from friends, it's not about being nasty and separation. It's about recognizing that your circle of friends sees you as who you are right now. And if you change, they are going to feel a bit uncomfortable. And at a subconscious level, they're going to start saying, what's happened to Maria? How come she's different now than she was? Something's wrong, and because they're status quo people. So as you ascend, your circle of friends has to either ascend with you or you have to move into the next circle. And if you're not aware of it, it becomes like the environment that holds people. And I think what you're pointing out here is really valid. It's not about being nasty or it's not the friend thing. The issue is, are the people around me serving where I want to go? Not who I am right now, but where I want to go. Because if they're not, and I'm not talking about asking them, I'm talking about evidence, then it's time to break those ties. Fascinating. Now, I know you're writing a book about all this, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And so wrote about sleep and about skill of courage and how
Yeah.
to improve your skill of courage quite quickly. And I read a lot, I do a lot of research, and now I'm writing that chapter on relationships. And funny enough, that's the hardest chapter to write.
I imagine.
That's the hardest one to write.
So
Yeah.
it's a tough one, right? Because we think
Mm,
about this all the time, and even in our own business, we've been coaching for 21 years, and you've known me for probably half of that. And at the start, it was always one-on-one coaching. I need your help. I need your undivided attention, and that was people's premium product. That was the best thing. And about 10 years ago, we started the group program, and I think that's when you were on the scene the first time. And what we realized is the dynamic of a group was that people learn from peers as much as they learn from the teacher. And so when you allow people to hang around together and they're on the same journey, then the relationships actually become highly valuable. And we're starting to see more and more of that. And especially during the last few years with this Zoom thing becoming another channel for communication. And some people say, I prefer face to face. I go, I get it, but it costs way more money and time. This way, you can actually talk to more people and have intimate conversations without having to physically travel. So the whole relationship conundrum is, do I have relationships with people I like? Do I have relationships with people who I aspire to be like? Do I have relationships with people I'm uncomfortable with? And I think the short answer is yes to all of
mm,
the above. But the relationships around us are really quite an influence on who we see ourselves as and what we believe is possible. Yeah. So it's a big topic, and it's also one that I think you highlighted, and I'm so curious as to where this all came from. The moving of the hierarchy, the Maslow's hierarchy, because down the bottom it used to be survival and shelter, right? So they were the
mm.
basic human needs, and now you're suggesting that there's one beneath that that's more important, and that's connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, there's actually studies now showing that the reason why Homo sapiens survived is because of building a better community.
Mm.
So Neanderthals died out because they lived in very tiny groups and they did not prioritize collaboration and communication and community.
Yeah.
So in particular, being with right people and being part of a group is crucial to us. It was crucial to our survival and still is.
Yeah.
And I really love when you like. I really enjoyed my time in a group with that you coached because you end up with like-minded people.
Mm.
Firstly, you realize that you're not alone in your struggles, that actually everyone has struggles, and most of the times there are similar struggles,
Mm-hmm.
in particular when starting a business, when running a business. So you no longer think that, you're weak or you're alone or I don't know, that you're not worthy or something like that.
Yeah.
And also, you get this opportunity to brainstorm with other people.
Yeah.
When you have a question, when you have an issue, when you have an idea, you can brainstorm with like minded people, and maybe they will, prompt you with something. Maybe they will give you their thoughts, or maybe sometimes they just would ask you a question
Yes.
that will give you that light bulb moment. So just communicating with like minded people. And it's look, in particular, if someone leaves corporate world and starts their own business, it's very difficult to find like-minded people
Yes.
that you can discuss those things with. So
Yeah.
besides getting all that wisdom from you, it is also about being part of a community
Yes.
of other business owners, where you feel like, yes, you do belong, where you
Mm.
can brainstorm, that you can discuss the most craziest ideas,
Yeah.
even if it's a pen turning into a car, which I do believe is actually possible to do once we learn more about how energy and matter works. So I do think
That's
we would
another
be able to
conversation, right?
learn how to shrink matter and how to expand it. So it's just a matter of us
Yeah.
getting to that knowledge.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, you can discuss anything and everything. And, often conversations are even about personal life, about some family issues
Yeah.
that you can talk to those people about, because it's a mistake to separate professional growth from personal growth.
Yes.
They are also intertwined. You cannot grow professionally until you grow personally.
Yeah.
So you grow personally first, and then there is that professional growth. And then you grow personally more, and then you grow professionally more.
Mm.
You cannot do professional growth without personal growth ever.
Yeah.
So in those groups, it's not just conversations about business. It could be about relationships or I don't know, parenthood,
Yeah.
relationship with your partner, health issues. So you feel like you can talk about anything with people in the group.
Yeah, and this comes back to this idea of community, and I think when I was 21, one of my first personal development books was Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, and I think one of the first chapters in there is about the mastermind, and this is a book from the 1950s, right? No, it's further than that. It's 100 years old now, or something, 1920s, and he talks about the power of the mastermind, and the mastermind is multiple people getting together and talking around a topic and creating synergy, which means that each individual couldn't think of the solution, but together they can think of a better solution. And I think sometimes we forget the importance because for me, I've watched people in business, and it can be being a business owner can be the loneliest thing on the planet because no one really cares what you do. No one really knows what you do, and no one's watching the clock for you except for your clients. So then all of a sudden you realize, hang on, I'm in isolation, and I need to talk about things, I need to verbalize them to get them out there. And so we're battling these games all the time. And as you just pointed to, this whole idea of growing a business, you cannot go past your level of personal capacity. And I think when we get older, our personal capacity, our perception of what we can do is less. This whole dog new tricks, I'm getting old and slow, and, I'm not as fast as I used to be. And it's like, these are all just self-imposed limiting beliefs. Why do people say those things? And it's sort of like, I'm getting too old, I'm tired. Come on, right? You're still alive, right? And it's sort of people say, well, how do you think like that? I say, well, it's not how I think. It's like I get up every morning and I say, hey, I got up again. I got another day, and what can I do today? So I think there's a level of presence in all of this. And when you talked about being grounded, I think being present and being grounded are parallel universes because grounded's the physical version of being present. Being present to me is you're talking to someone, you're in conversation live. You're not thinking about what's happening tomorrow, what's thinking about tomorrow, yesterday. It's being present. And I think these fundamental elements, we can call them mindset, even though I don't think you'll agree that it's all mindset. I think it's about thinking in multiple levels and looking at the problems in your life as symptoms. And your job is to identify the root cause of the symptom and deal with that. And if it's mindset, if it's sleep, if it's community, so if it's relationships, or if it's courage. And I think the courage one is a big one because we get told to, settle down, be realistic, and it kills creativity. Maria, we've gone non-stop talking for 30 minutes, and I feel like we go on and on. If people want to
Yes.
contact you, what's the best way to reach out to you?
LinkedIn would be the best way. And also, I post a lot of interesting nuggets and insights
Yeah.
that you can check out on my profile.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be sharing more things next year once I have completed my first book. I have ideas for three more books, but I'm trying to focus on
Fantastic.
that one at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be sharing more things about sleep, about relationships, about building your skill of courage, and then also we'll be talking more about food, about breathing, about earthing, and other things as well further on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sharing a lot of insights there. It would be great if you started following me. If you
Yeah.
have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Or if you would like to collaborate with me on something, I'm a huge sucker for collaboration. In particular, Big Potential by Sean Aker, which is an amazing book about collaboration,
Yeah.
is my favorite, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, which actually talks about what you highlighted, that by yourself you can reach only to a certain level, and if you collaborate
Yeah.
with right people, then you can only then you can reach your highest potential.
Yeah. Just to say, you remind me of another thing. That there's a group called Singularity University,
Yeah.
and it's driven by Peter Diamandis, who's a sort of he's the abundance guy. They call him. He wrote the book Abundance, and they have a thing called the X Prize, and the X Prize was designed. And it's every sort of year they come up with an idea and they say, we need you to solve this problem on the planet. And one of the problems was, how do we get water out of the air? And they offer $10 million as a prize. Anyone can enter with their ideas, but the one condition is all of the research and your submission goes into the public body of knowledge. So what they said is, we get the whole world working on these problems, and someone solves it and gets the 10 million, but the result of that one person solving it is that the collaboration of the globe on a single issue. And they've been running this now for a number of years, and it's fascinating when you get people working together on a singular problem, how much mind power we have on the planet. And the internet has just created this ability for everyone to work together at once. So I think this collaboration idea is awesome. I think this whole idea of relationship is really, really important. And the courage one is the one that most people struggle with. They don't feel they're good enough. And it's sort of been programmed into them by so many ways. And it's not a matter of who did it to you, it's a matter of how do you get past the things that are blocking your growth. Maria, thanks again today. I know you're going to keep going, right? But
Yes.
mindful of time, and I think a lot of people are on their lunch break. They probably have to go back to work. So if they want to jump onto your blog, I'd love to. I'd love to send them there. Maria Radic, I got to say it correctly. Uh,
Radish,
Radish.
which means trusted advisor. It doesn't mean a vegetable.
Ah.
It's a Ukrainian Hungarian last name, and it means trusted advisor.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks so much for your time today. It's been amazing. Really
My
appreciate
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
it. Okay, bye.
Bye.